make this. All right, today is April 9th, and we were just talking about next week's event, and it is extra credit. And let's just go quickly back there. It's on your calendar for Tuesday, and it's business and boba. And if you go, just write a short essay, double space, who was the speaker, what do they do, what do they say, do you agree or disagree? Okay. And we're going to make our own bobas, and then she's going to talk about how to network and not be uncomfortable with networking. Okay. All right, so let's go home and no, let's go back to the calendar. So my plan today was some general questions about the homework is due tonight and your chapter 1 quiz is due tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure to cover those topics. And then Friday's your last day to request a remote proctor. So if you have any scheduling issues, anything, talk to me before Friday, ideally before Thursday, so we can sort it out by Friday. And then next week will be the extra credit, more Zoom, and that's just 2 notices. And then chapter 2 homework will be due. And then next week, you guys will be picking your companies. Companies are not available yet. I'm still picking them myself. So I have a set of 6 companies and a competitor. So that's 12 companies. So it's going to be 6 pairs of companies. And you will form your teams by picking your companies. And then you'll work on those teams for 2 projects, one for the business model analysis and one for a financial analysis. And we'll do the business model analysis first. But we won't really start that project until after the first exam when you make a project plan, okay? So between now and the first exam, which is May 1st, we'll start chapter 3. We'll play a game called Monopoly online. You'll turn in your chapter 3 homework, your chapter 3 quiz. You'll do peer reviews of Monopoly. If you have any corrections, you'll make those corrections and re-upload your Monopoly. And then I'll be giving you a practice exam. You'll do 1 question in a discussion board. Ideally, you'll do the whole practice exam, but the discussion board is just 1, so you can kind of work on it together. And then your practice homeworks are always due like a day or 2 before the exam. And they're really low points, but I just want to give you that opportunity to re-practice the homework as needed. And then I have something else here called a Count ID quiz. And that's more like a flashcard quiz. You can take that quiz up to 10 times and it saves your highest score. And you come in to campus on May 1st at 2:30 in room C208, and there's more detail on there. Okay, so just wanted to quickly go over that. And then how many of you, if you could put in the chat, how many of you are seeking the associate in business degree from Bellevue College? How many of you are hoping to get an associate in business? And so, Yelena, yes. Who else? Arena, Vanessa, Callahan, great. I mean, you put it on your Padlet. I can't remember. Great, okay. Oh, you all are, awesome. Sometimes students come and they just want to take a few classes as running start, but they're really not planning to get the full degree just based on scheduling. Okay. So I wanted to just quickly show you this link. If we go to the Bellevue College homepage, hopefully you can see this. And we scroll down. And you go to this path. Can you see this? This says business pathway. Nope.
No, I can't see that.
Okay, thank you. Let's just do new share. Okay. All right, so we go to the Bellevue College homepage, bellevuecollege.edu, scroll down to where it says business. Okay. And that's Sheila Lozanne. She's another one of our accounting teachers. And scroll down, and see where it says business admin transfer. And then you click on program options. and you go program website. All right. And let's take a look, make sure. Okay, that's where we are. All right. I'm going to move this down here. So we have one. All right. So our degree is what we call a 2+2 degree. So if you get an associate degree from Bellevue College in business, you transfer to a 4-year school, University of Washington, Seattle, called Foster School of Business, University of Washington, Bothell School of Business, Tacoma, Seattle U, Washington State, Western Washington, Columbia University, wherever, you transfer in as a junior. So you have like your first 2 years done at a community college pricing structure. Then you transfer to a university, okay? So there's lots here that you can look at, lots of testimonies from our alumni, all sorts of things. You can look about our grads, you can look at their jobs, you can look at the community, the greater community. We have a lot of people in the Washington State community who give back to the college. They'll come and do a guest speaking spot, or they'll meet with students one-on-one and talk about experience that you can get while you're at Bellevue College that's more entrepreneurial, okay? If you're a Running Start student, there's specific information here for you, and this is information from everybody else. And this would be like, you guys have all done this already. You've got your placement, you've done all that. So let's assume you're not Running Start, although I know you are, but this just gets you through the steps of all of that. How do you get, so we're really looking at it from starting from nothing, okay? All right, let's see if I can find here we go. So here is what we like to show students, and it helps them plan their quarters. So first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Theoretically, you guys are in your fourth quarter, and we recognize that not everybody's going to school full time. So you may not be taking 3 classes a quarter, but you can see fourth quarter is accounting 201, fifth quarter accounting 202, and then 203, okay? And our intent for this was just to let you guys know a pathway so that you can not take extra classes, graduate most efficiently. There are some electives in here. We recommend that all business students take public speaking because it's good for you. We recommend students take a course in ethics, but if you're Running Start, you might have to take history to meet your graduation requirements for high school, okay? And then if you're Running Start, you have to take PE, so things like that. So humanities class, you might have to take Running Start, might have to take political science and so forth. So this is just a place where you can go periodically and just kind of check and make sure you're on plan. And of course, we want you to meet with advisors and all that sort of thing. So we have a lot of pictures of our students and business leadership communities where we do a lot of our events. This was the president of Nordstrom who came and talked. Speakers, we have lots of videos on our speakers, have been really super popular. So easy to get to, you just go to Bellevue College homepage. Again, scroll down, find business. And I'm looking, find business admin transfer. That word transfer is really important. All the rest of these degrees end at Bellevue College, whether it's a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree. The transfer degrees, and we have other transfer degrees that are not business, they're the 2+2 degrees. Okay, and then you come over here and go to our program website, and that's how you get to this. And you click and you wait. So I'll put a link to this when I post the video. I'll put a direct link here, and so you can get it. Okay, all right. Any questions on the degree? Have you guys been advised?
I have a question. I want to pursue the bachelor's in accounting degree at Bellevue College.
Yep, that's right. You can do that here. So if you finish your 2-year business degree, you would talk to the accounting 4-year degree at Bellevue College. Donald Rowe is the program chair, and all our courses are accepted over there.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
then you'd stay on at Bellevue and take your junior and senior year classes in accounting at Bellevue. Yeah.
Is it the same system where I'm enrolling to the proper classes every quarter?
You, I'm not an advisor for them, so I'm not 100% sure, but they have a pathway for those third and fourth years.
Mhm.
And you would just follow that pathway of what classes you would take. So,
Okay, thank you.
all right. All right. So if you just joined, I was just giving people a quick look at the business transfer degree website. All right. So this is what questions people had last year. If anybody wants to add to these questions, I thought we'd go over that and then maybe talk a little bit about balance sheet. And then if you want, we can start chapter 2 and talk about the classified balance sheet. So this is what I was going to talk about today, but if you guys want to talk about anything else, put it in the chat or say it out loud. And I'm super glad you're here. Well, I'm looking at the chat. I don't see anything, but we might have a lag. So nobody's seen an advisor. Open up the chat and answer my questions. So if you haven't seen an advisor, let me know. So I find that students don't always get in to see an advisor. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's see. All right. All right, so let's talk about the quiz. So when you guys go into your quiz, oh, has anybody questions on the homework? Let me start with that, please. Oh, Callahan, that's a good question. I'm gonna throw it on. I'm gonna throw it on the list. Balance sheet. I'll put that there. So when you guys, let me put this in student view. So I had a question yesterday on the homework. A student said, "Hey, I didn't I tried to get into Wiley Plus and I couldn't open up the homework from Wiley Plus. I need an access code." Well, you don't need an access code. You should be able to get right into the homework from Canvas. So our homework is embedded in Canvas. So I don't know if it's going to let me into the homework. It says I have to watch the welcome video. I would change that, except that sometimes students don't know the videos exist until the end. So let's go back. I'm pretty sure I fixed the practice homework, but maybe I didn't. Oh, it wants me to watch that. Okay, let's do this. And I'll do what you guys do, which is that. And next. And you're not required to load the course pack. Okay. That's for my on-campus classes, right? That, don't want that. Don't want that. See if it'll let me do this. Next. All right. All right. It did it. Okay. This is what you should see. You go to the homework and you open the assignment and it'll launch your homework directly. No access code, nothing. And then you say, I'll start the assignment and it should load for you automatically. For the first chapter, I make you do those videos sequentially so you know my videos exist. I made the videos. They're not the videos that are on the publisher website. They are videos that I created with my own content that syncs to our textbook, but is not identical. Okay. All right. So when you do the homework, you get 3 tries. Let's go back. There is some rules around that, and it's overview. You'll see your answer as you submit, 3 attempts per question, and you lose 5% points after the second attempt, and your best score will be kept. When you're done with the homework and you've done your 3 tries, or you only do 1 try and you're done, that grade comes right into Canvas. There's no delay. There should be no delay in that. Okay. Okay. All right. So I see question about homework 7 from Ava. And Dana, you have a question. I'll get to that in a minute. So I already answered it, but I'll tell you the answer again. I don't want to, let's go back to here. So let's look at question 7 in the textbook. So here's the other thing. When you go to the homework assignment, I take the homework exactly from the textbook. So before you start the homework, you can go to chapter 1. Can you see the textbook here? Okay, I have to keep asking. End of chapter homework. The chapters are organized really helpfully. I personally hate online books. I have a paper copy of the book and I use it all the time. I don't like, how much did it cost, Elena, for the book? $30?
Yeah, it was $33 plus
Okay.
tax, I believe.
Okay, you can buy the paper copy of the book in the bookstore. I love the paper copy of the book just because it helps me learn to be able to know how long a chapter is, and it's just not infinite on the website. So let's look at the end of, so I want to quickly encourage you to read your book, whether you're reading it online. When you go through the book, look at the titles of each section. And I would do this before you listen to my PowerPoint slides or review my PowerPoint slides. And you can see on the sidebar here, there's quick links, but I'm going to shut this down so I have more viewing space. Okay. Oops, how about we go to the right chapter? That would be helpful. There we go, business organizations. All right. Sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, who uses accounting information, questions external users ask, and so forth. So I would take time to go through the chapter. If you have time to read it, I would encourage you to do so. I've had students who don't speak English as their first language tell me it's just good to read the chapter a couple of times. They're short chapters, but it still helps to read. And what I really like about this book, I've met the author, I've contributed to the book. What I really like about this book is that it has practice and solutions embedded in the chapter. They have sample statements, income statement, revenue, and so forth. Callahan, you do not get penalized for using ebooks. Not at all. Do we get penalized for using ebooks and media list of accounts drop downs that are included on the page in the homework? No, you do not. You can use that. Let's see. So here's the income statement, revenue minus expenses. Here's the retained earnings statements. Here's the balance sheet in chapter 1. All right, and here's the cash flow. We don't do a lot with cash flow until chapter 11, which is in Accounting 202. And here they all are together showing their relationships. More practice, they're called do-its, and then you get to see the answer. I just think that's helpful for immediate feedback for students. All right, so now we get to the back. So let's pull this table of contents out again. Okay. So now we're into review and practice, end of chapter homework, glossary review, practice multiple choice questions. They have answers, so you can take your questions and then here's the solutions right after. So use the textbook. It has a lot of good material in it. Then they have practice brief exercises as well. So I think that's helpful. All right, so then we get down to the actual homework. We get past the practice stuff into end of chapter homework. I do not assign questions for homework, but they often show up in quizzes. Okay, so as you prepare for quiz, I lean more on the quiz on vocabulary. I occasionally will have a short question, like, do you understand the accounting equation? And we'll talk about that today too. But use the questions as a good source for reviewing the chapter material. My homework, I gave you a list of the homework that synchronizes to the book. So for chapter 1 homework, we have questions 1 through 12, but in my list, and you can see it under Canvas, under each homework assignment, number 1 corresponds to brief exercise 1-1. That first one is for the chapter. And then number 7, which is the one Ava asked about, is right here. So I'm going to shut this down again. Here's number 7. Can you guys see it? Indicate, I lost it. Indicate which statement you would find the following items: income statement, balance sheet, retained earnings, or cash flow.
Actually, sorry, I was talking about the homework, like the ones that when you miss points.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
It was just about it was like a long one and
Oh,
it's
you're right. Number 7 is actually number 9. So hang on, let's see. Does it look like that?
um yes. I was
Okay.
wondering, okay, so if we answer question A, do we use the answer from question A to help us with question B, or do we fully like reset kind of?
Right, I saw that one. Yeah. So real quick, let me do one thing first, because I think I just confused you. To see a list of textbook questions by chapter, you'd click on this. And that's what I was looking at. So when I come down to question 7, it synchronizes to your textbook. It's 7 on your online homework, but it's actually brief exercise 1-9. And you can look all your homework up before you go on Wiley Plus and look at it first. Okay, so let's go back to that question, to that. So it's Ava, it depends on how the question's worded. So let's look at the wording. At the beginning of the year, Morales Company had total assets of 800, total liabilities of 500. And here's the keywords right here. Treat each item independently. And what that means is you reset with each question.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet. So you start over with each question, but for each question, your start is you had assets, liabilities of 500. Okay. That's how you start. Okay. So for that first question, you start with 800 assets, you start with liabilities of 500. So how much do you have in stockholders' equity if you have 800 and 500 like that? So let's just, no, it's not going to be here for me, that's for sure. Let's do, bring it over. Let's do a new spreadsheet. So if I were to set this question up and I were to say, how would I solve this? This is how I solve these problems, okay? I would say beginning of year, right? He's starting with the beginning of the year. And I abbreviate beginning of year as BOY, beginning of the year, and I show assets. And then I say equals just to be consistent. And then I say plus. Okay, so they're saying at the beginning of the year, total assets is 800,000 and total liabilities is 500,000. Okay, so based on what you all have learned so far, the accounting equation says assets has to equal liabilities plus stockholders' equity. So what does that mean? The balance is in stockholders' equity accounts. What does it have to be? You know, oh, I got it right there. Thank you, Ariana. So it has to be 300,000 because it has this is the right side of the equation has to add up to the left side of the equation. It has to be in balance, okay? So I just use a piece of scratch paper, whatever, so that you can keep track of that. Because it looks really simple and some of you can do this in your head, but most students can't and I can't either. Okay, now let's just do A together. If total assets increased 150,000 during the year. So now we're saying what happened during the year? Total assets increased 150,000. Total liabilities decreased 80,000. Okay. And again, we don't know what happened over here, okay? What is the amount of total oh, sorry. What is the amount of stockholders' equity at the end of the year? Okay, so now we're saying, now you could do this two ways. I mean, this is a simple math problem now that I've laid it out this way, but we know that if you started with 800,000, you increased by 150,000, that means assets at the end of the year are 950. Okay. You can do the same for liabilities. If you started with 500,000 in liabilities, but you went down 80,000, that meant you paid off some of those liabilities. You're going to end up with 420,000, okay? So the difference here is 950 minus 420 is going to be 530, okay? Now let's do it a different way. Let's look at this line itself. Okay, if I know that assets went up 150, but liabilities went down 80, go ahead and put in the chat what was the difference in stockholders' equity. You can direct message me so people don't see your answer right away. During the year, what was the transaction amount for stockholders' equity? Sorry for all the caps. So go ahead and put it in the chat. You guys are silent. What do you think? If you don't know, put IDK in the chat. Dongjun, you are correct. Anybody else? Trey, you are correct. Good, good, good. Anybody else? Okay, they both said the answer here is 230,000. Do you want to tell us how you did it, Trey or Dongjun? Do you have audio?
Yeah, sorry about that. I just took the difference between 530,000 and 300,000.
Perfect.
530,000 minus 300,000.
Perfect. So he said, if I started with 300, I ended with 530, I must have had an increase of 230. And I know a lot of this language is new for you, assets, liabilities, stockholders, equity, but at this level, it's just a simple math problem. Dongjun, did you do the same thing or did you do a different method?
So, basically I just so the assets increased and the liabilities decreased, so I just uh added them up, I guess, because yeah.
Yeah, that works. So 530,000 minus 300,000 is 230,000. Beginning minus, ending minus beginning is the activity. Or you can say this row has to balance. So in order for liabilities and stockholders' equity to equal a positive 150,000, it takes 230,000 minus 80,000 to get to 150. Okay. Or you could move the 80 to the other side of the equation, and then you'd say 150 plus 80 equals 230. Good, good, good. Okay. So then for the next, so Ava, for the next problem, you'd have to start all over and say, well, what are the facts in this problem? And you knew that. So you knew it was one of those. So here you've got liabilities increasing. Here you've got stockholders' equity decreasing, all of that. So follow that same methodology for that. Okay. All right. All right. So that's question 7. And that's kind of an odd question, right? 7. Reset or continue. Each problem is independent. So reset. All right. Okay. So that kind of jumped us into the accounting equation too. All right. All right. And let me go back. Let me circle back to Dana because she's been patient. And then also Callahan. We'll get to balance sheet. So Dana, am I saying your name right? Dana, am I saying your name right? I hope I am. Okay. All right. So your assignment here is to pick your companies. And so you don't have to pick your companies for a little bit. Let me get out of student mode. Oh, good. Glad to hear it. All right. Can you guys see Canvas? Say yes or no. Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So you don't have to pick your companies just yet. You have a little bit of time on this, but let's go ahead and show it anyway. So what I told the group at the beginning was you don't have to pick companies until next Tuesday, and you will be going to people, groups, project teams, and your first project is the 2-company business model analysis. Okay. Let's go back, leave student view. And we don't really start this project in full beyond picking companies until we go to after the exam. But here's the company analysis projects. You're going to make a PowerPoint and video discussing the business model of your 2 companies. And then later in the quarter, you'll do a financial analysis paper of the 2 companies. And it's sort of almost a mini project, this final paper. So, all right. So you go to people and you go to project groups, but there's nothing here yet. So I'm still finalizing your companies, but the way it'll work is it'll be 6 pairs of companies. So you'll have like Coke and Pepsi or McDonald's and Starbucks, and you'll use them for your project and you'll compare them and contrast them and decide which company has a more sustainable business model. And then you'll look at them just in terms of financials, and you'll say which company is more healthy, has a healthier balance sheet, income statement, all of that. Okay. But give me a couple more days and I'll finalize the companies. Okay. All right. All right. So what should you study for the quiz? Like I said, I do more theory, although I will have a few short problems like that. Question 7 is a good example. Do you understand the accounting equation, assets equals liabilities plus stockholders' equity? Sometimes I have short problems. In general, if you've studied my PowerPoint and you know the glossary, you'll be fine on a quiz. You get 2 attempts. We use something called Lockdown Browser. And some of you have used Lockdown before, some of you have not. If you have difficulty with the first quiz, please do not panic. I will give you some grace on the first quiz to make sure you know how to use Lockdown. So what is Lockdown? Has anybody not used Lockdown? Has everybody used Lockdown before? Say yes or no in the quiz, in the chat. Yes, no. Okay. So you get to quiz 1. It's going to let me look at it. And there we go. So it will not let you start the quiz until you have installed Lockdown on your computer. If you do everything right and you have computer issues, please don't panic. I will give you more time to get this first quiz right, because sometimes some of you have older computers that don't like Lockdown. Okay, that just happens and we have to sort it out this first week. You need to sign out of everything, download Lockdown. If you have used Lockdown for another class, I believe you still have to download Lockdown for this class. If you successfully download Lockdown, you come back to take the quiz. And if you have any screens open besides the one that's the quiz, it won't let you take the quiz. So you shut down everything else on your computer and then you go in and take the quiz. Okay. The quizzes are closed book and no notes, and there'll be a camera on you. So you may need to make sure you have a camera. Okay. Cannot have any screens open. So when you get ready to start the quiz, don't wait till the last minute because you may need to download Lockdown first. So when you go to start the quiz, it'll have you download Lockdown first, and then you do it. There's 10 questions. You have 30 minutes. If you retake the quiz, you might get the same questions, you might get different questions. And it won't show you the answers, I believe, at all. But I'm not sure how I set it up. Let's see, multiple attempts, show correct answer. Oh, I guess it does show up to you immediately. Okay, I lied. So, all right. Okay. So it opens up tonight, or this morning it already opened up. And then it'll close tomorrow night at midnight. Okay. All right. Okay, what else do we have here? The short problems, accounting equation, and balance sheet. All right, so circling back to Callahan's question, how in the heck do you remember all these crazy accounts? And how do you keep track of it all? Okay, and for chapter 1, I would recommend watching my video on balance sheet and income statement because I kind of talk through what all those mean. We kind of go account by account. Let's do that for financial statements. Here we go. And the book does the same thing, but I think the videos help more because it's what is service revenue? What is salary expense? What do all those things mean? And so the general guideline is the balance sheet has assets, liabilities, stockholders' equity, which is common stock and retained earnings. The income statement only has revenue accounts and expense accounts. Okay, we want to know what we sold, and we want to know what the costs were of the things we sold, and then the other costs like salaries and depreciation. We want to take the difference between sales and expenses and figure out if we made any money. Okay. Retained earnings is a bridge statement. And it's the link between the income statement and the balance sheet. You can't do a balance sheet unless you have calculated, updated the account balance for retained earnings. Okay. Retained earnings only has 4 lines: beginning balance plus net income. If you have net loss, you subtract it here, minus dividends equals the new balance of retained earnings. Okay. Now, on balance sheet, that's probably the newest and less intuitive one. And Yelena and I were talking yesterday about the balance sheet. So assets add up to 21,910 here. And yeah, you can see this. All right. Liabilities and stockholders' equity, just like we just did for that accounting equation, also have to add up to 21,910. Okay, there's no that's like the beautiful law in accounting. Assets equals liabilities plus stockholders' equity. All right. So how do you keep straight what's an asset? Assets are things a company uses that help them make sales and do their business. Okay. Assets are not revenue. Assets are like equipment is an asset. Insurance that we haven't used up yet because it has a future value, that's an asset. Supplies that we haven't used up yet, they have a future value to us. We're going to use them in the future, but for right now, it's stuff that we have. Cash is always an asset. And accounts receivable is money that the customer owes us. Okay. So order is very important. We use language that says assets need to be listed in order of liquidity. So liquidity means how close they are to cash. Cash is cash, so it goes first. Accounts receivable, we expect to collect our bills from our customer in 30 days. And then supplies, insurance, equipment. And then liabilities, look at the language here: payable, 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 payable. That means we owe this money, we have to pay it. The only exception is unearned revenue. I know I told you if you see revenue, it belongs on the income statement, but unearned revenue is the exception, okay? Unearned revenue means the customer has prepaid us for something that's going to happen in the future. Therefore, we owe the customer the service. So an example of that would be if I were Alaska Airlines, you bought a ticket to travel in June, I would record that as cash going up, but I also owe you that airplane flight. So I can't call it revenue because it's in the future. And stockholders' equity, common stock and retained earnings, and just be really mindful of retained earnings. That number comes from the updated retained earnings statement. Okay, comes straight from retained earnings, and we can't do the balance sheet until we've done retained earnings. We can't do retained earnings until we've done the income statement, prepared the income statement. Okay. So at this point in the game, Callahan, it's not that many accounts, so I would just suggest some flashcards or acronyms that'll help you remember. Okay. All right, let's see. I think that's it, and I think our time's up, but if you guys have any last minute questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And I'm really glad you all came, so. And I hope this was helpful. So let's see. Will the quiz questions look similar to homework? No, not really. They're more theory questions, Ariana. So more theory. There might be 1 or 2 short problems, but they're mostly glossary, vocabulary, concepts. What's the, sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, that kind of stuff. You will not be constructing financial statements on quiz 1. No. Callahan, in the book, it said long-term debt would be liabilities. What would long-term debt look like? A good example would be, let's say you borrow money for 5 years. So I borrow money today, I will pay you back in 5 years with interest. So short-term debt would be something that is 1 year or less. Long-term debt is more than a year. All right. Okay, sorry, I apologize, I'm running over, but I just wanted to make sure I answered any questions. So anything else, people? Glad to see you all here. And if you come next week, short-term debt and long-term debt. Oh, so are you thinking like an account title maybe? Short-term debt would be like note payable. Long-term debt would have to be called out like long-term note payable. You can't guess if you don't know. So if you come next week, I'll be there at about 3:15. If you come to the extra credit next week, that's right, we're in office hours. I'll be coming late. I'll be coming about 3:20. And if you do come, say hi to me. So I will see you guys later. Have a good rest of the week. I'm gonna stop the recording.